I'm here at an abandoned gas station that has had more articles written about it than any other abandoned gas station in the history of abandoned gas stations. And the reason being is this is going to be the first Ionna rechargery. These are the corporate offices of Ionna, and actually not this building specifically, but it's kind of iconically architected, so it's very commonly associated with the corporate offices. It's actually a flex conference space, and on the first floor is a health center. But the Ionna offices are just immediately adjacent. I'll show them to you in a second. And this is an area of the country called Research Triangle Park, colloquially known locally as RTP. RTP is home to many large international tech companies. For instance, Cisco Systems has a very large office, and if you want to become a coveted CCIE, one of the few places in the world you can come to take the certification tests are at the labs in Cisco Systems offices here in RTP. Apple is building a billion-dollar facility in RTP. The laptop company Lenovo is headquartered in China, but their North American divisions are here in RTP. They're the only laptop maker allowed in space. So very large international company. And many other large international technology companies. But let's talk about Ionna really quick. And by the way, their offices are just right over here. Make no mistake, the 8 members of Ionna, let me see if I can name them really quick from memory. Hyundai, Kia, Honda, GM, Stellantis, BMW, Mercedes, and Toyota is the 8th one. Those are also some of the largest companies in the world, and they've come together in order to form Ionna as a direct response to the Tesla supercharger network, to deploy their own charging network across North America, including Canada, in order to have their vehicles uncoupled from the very lucrative and attractive Tesla supercharger network that has become the gold standard for charging in North America. So in response to that, they've collected and husbanded their funds in order to a single pot, formed Ionna, and are in the process of responding to the Tesla supercharger network competitive threat. Now, one thing to keep in mind, Ionna just formed as a legal entity this year in 2024. That means they were not able to sign leases, they were not able to issue contracts, nothing. So they just formed this year. They've got their corporate office spaces, and we're now getting renderings of charging stations, as well as property being purchased, equipment, contracts getting signed, and contracts getting executed for services. So what we're seeing is that the back-end teams that are necessary in order to perform the functions that make up Ionna are now in place, and they're operational. So I've received a little bit of blowback concerning videos about Ionna, and I've been called a Tesla hater by a couple of commenters. And the truth is, I am not a Tesla hater. In fact, my first EV was a Tesla Model 3 2019 long range that I love to death. You know, the whole apprehension about buyer's remorse, and then you pull up to your first supercharger experience and it's seamless, and you find that it's ubiquitous. It goes without saying that the Tesla supercharger network right now is the gold standard for charging not only in North America, but globally. So credit where credit is due. They built an amazing thing. They're a relentless team, and the Elon clan, who is very focused on the transfer of mobility to electrification, are good people. And so I have no problem whatsoever with Tesla and the supercharger network. But let's just talk about the Alphatronic hyperchargers that are going into Ionna and the whole Ionna experience. So let's just start right now. I'm standing on a piece of property that is owned by Ionna. The rechargeries are property that are mostly going to be owned by Ionna. There's a facility right here to my left that will have an employee that has a paycheck from Ionna, likely. We're not 100% sure about that, but that's very likely. There's going to be restrooms and some kind of snacks and drink options available that are being provided by services run by Ionna. These Alpitronic hyperchargers are capable of 400 kilowatts of throughput with a silicon carbide rectifier providing lossless transfer of energy from AC to DC, near lossless transfer. With two handles, the cable length is 5 meters with matriculating cable management holding the cables off the ground, making it very easy to move around the car. All these things are things that Tesla supercharger stations just don't have. Also, there's going to be a canopy over these chargers. There's going to be trash cans run by the site owner, Ionna, and just a whole experience that does not exist at a Tesla supercharger station. So we have to be real. This is an OEM response to the Tesla supercharger network in an attempt to one-up the charging experience, going from a survival mode where you're just trying to get from point A to point B to actually a driver-focused experience for a charging site, which is a completely different approach. A lot more money being spent. You might say, well, they're going to be spending $10 billion for 30,000 chargers, and Tesla could do it at much less cost. Yeah, they can do it for much less cost, but these have really cool large screens and payment options and 5-meter long cables with matriculating cable management arms and a place to sit down and staff that are providing a form of security. So it's a different experience. Andrew Cornelia, the head of the Mercedes-Benz high-power charging network in North America, wrote this article for Fortune, which I'll link down below in the description, talking about how EV charging stations could become America's next third place. Now, let me explain what that means. Apparently, in the digital age, loneliness is starting to become chronic. And there are people suffering from loneliness because we're a very isolated society. Everywhere you go, you're either at work or at home. And the third place is a social area where you're able to interact with your community. And we're kind of lacking that. It used to be churches, and a lot of people still go to churches and things like that, but there's just not the same lifestyle that introduced that community aspect to routine life that there used to be. And what he's saying in this article is that EV charging stations, should they be engineered correctly, can help increase the quality of life. So not only solve the problem of fueling a vehicle, but increase the quality of the life of the patrons there. For instance, this location is going to have this facility, and where I'm standing now is going to have tables and chairs in order to sit down, in order to drink a refreshment. You'll be able to walk your pet and interact with people who are here charging with you. Obviously, the people who are here charging with you are going to have a common interest. So you'll be able to strike up conversations, and I have no doubt that 5 years from now, there's going to be couples who will have a life story of meeting at an Ionna rechargery, getting married, and they're already having children and raising children afterwards. So these are going to be social locations that will provide a place to interact with the community and meet friends and hang out, because as you charge, it's not going to be instantaneous. You have to hang out for at least 20 minutes. And if the station is engineered just to fuel your vehicle, you're not going to have that opportunity. A location like a rechargery is going to open up new opportunities for people to interact. Okay, you can see the Alpitronic hypercharger behind me, and the way it's going to work here at Ionna, we believe, is there's going to be half of the stalls that have J3400 connectors and half the stalls that have CCS1 connectors. Now, I have an adapter that will take J3400 and convert it to CCS1 form factor, which was initially purchased in order to grant early access to the Tesla supercharger network for my Cadillac Lyriq. However, I could use this same thing pulling up to an Ionna station or all the other stations that are starting to put in J3400 connectors as an option instead of CHAdeMO, and charge my CCS1 car just fine. These Alpitronic hyperchargers, the label is facing us, and it looks like the way they're going to be doing it is one charger is going to have two J3400s, and then another charger is going to have two CCS1. It doesn't really matter for me. I can pull it to either one. And if it's a CCS1 handle, I can plug it into my car, either my Cadillac Lyriq or my Volvo. If it's a J3400, I can use my adapter. Okay, so we are about 1 month into construction at this location, and they're a little bit behind schedule because according to initial press releases, they were supposed to have their first rechargery open somewhere around Halloween, which is next week. And obviously, as you can see, that's not going to happen. But there is active construction going. You can see the soon-to-be poured pad, or the pad-mounted transformer going here. And according to the site plans, there's electrical diagrams mentioning a 2500 kVA transformer. So let's do the math on this really quick. If we've got 5 Alphatronic hyperchargers going into pedestals up here, that's 10 stalls. Each Alphatronic is capable of 400 kilowatts of throughput. So 4 times 5 would only be 2000 kVA. Now that's not an exact match when you talk kVAs to kilowatts, but in general it is. So they're actually oversizing should they proceed with putting in a 2,500 kVA transformer in here, which is a very large transformer. I'm not actually sure if that's even possible. The largest I've seen is 2,000 kVA, but according to the site plans, which I'll put up here, it's supposed to be 2,500 kVA. So should they do that, they'll have more energy than they need, assumingly for future expansion. Okay, so I think what I'll do now is walk the site to give an impression of the scale of where we're at. All right, I'm going to spin the camera around. Okay, so as I said, right here is a deviation from the site plans. The pad-mounted transformers were supposed to be on the other side, but this looks like pad-mounted transformers to me. In fact, 2 of them. So I don't know if they're putting in 2 transformers or if this is just where additional switchgear is going. I guess that's yet to be determined. You could also see the pedestals going in and where they've carved the foliage back. Their property line basically runs right up against the fence that you could barely see. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a fence back there. That's their property line. Let's go ahead and walk the rest of the site. This is Salem Road right here in downtown Apex. The Ionna sign that has been on PlugShare, a temporary utility meter, and the Ionna sign, as I said, Owl E-Mobility. Get out of the way of the GC here. No concrete poured yet. According to the site plans, they're going to be putting in asphalt. And of course, they have to redo this whole facility as well. Here's the Alphatronic hyperchargers. As you can see, 5 of them. We'll get to those in just a minute. And what's soon to be the rechargery facility, which looks to be unoccupied now. As of just a couple of weeks ago, there was still an occupant in there. But one thing to note about this property, this is wholly owned by Ionna. And this wall is going to have a mural saying rechargery painted on it. As you see, lots of heavy construction occurring. This, I'm not exactly sure what it is. I'm going to look closer at those labels here in just a second. Oh, I can see. Looks like, I don't know what that is. I don't think that's switchgear. I think that actually might be a transformer. I'm going to look at that a little bit more closely. And then as you can see, the heavy grading equipment that is in play. Okay, so there's additional questions concerning Ionna and how they're going to operate. Primarily, price. Are they going to try to pay for all of these amenities with a higher price, basically premium price for premium experience, or are they going to come in with a commodity price more in line with what you would see at a C-store who is just trying to recoup energy expense in order to attract customers to buy things in their store? There's 2 different pricing models there, and we're unsure exactly what this is going to entail. Also, we're unsure if the 8 OEMs that make up Ionna, whether or not the owners of those vehicles will have discounted rates at these stations. Now we do know that as far as payment goes, there will likely be an app. There will likely be tap to pay. There will likely be credit card. You'll likely be able to use plug and charge, ISO 15118. So all those payment options are available. What's the price going to be? Second thing we don't know, is there going to be an attendant, or are they just going to send someone through once or twice a day to empty the garbage cans and clean the restrooms? So is there going to be someone fully on staff in order to receive a paycheck? Are they going to be here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? Are we going to use a key code in order to get into the restroom? All this we don't know yet. So lots of questions left to be answered. And the last question we have to have answered is who their back-end partner is going to be, because Alphatronic hyperchargers are OCPP compliant, but they don't have the ability to process payment. So someone is going to have to provide Ionna back-end payment processing and all those back-end OCPP compliant operations that those types of partners provide. A couple of names that have been thrown around is ChargePoint, Charge Labs, EV Connect, few others. I'm sorry, they're escaping my mind right now, but there's going to have to be selected some kind of back-end provider, because when you buy an Alphatronic hypercharger, what you get is an Alphatronic hypercharger. You do not get any back-end services. Another question waiting to be answered. All right, again, a quick sweep of the site. As you can see, it looks like the pad-mounted transformers will be going over here, and likely the energy will be delivered off this pole up here. Step down through the transformer, and then we have, as you see right behind that gray truck, one pedestal, two pedestals, three pedestals, four pedestals, five pedestals. And this, according to the plan, is going to be an asphalt throughway with the facility right over here and parking on the side in order to just sit down if you want to grab a cup of coffee as well, or swing around and park your car and charge and go get yourself a cup of coffee, use the restroom, and hang out a little bit. This will also have a canopy covering the entire place. So there you have it. Ionna's first rechargery well underway. It should be open, I don't know, if I had to guess, perhaps by Christmas, but that would be really pushing the pedal to the floor, more likely sometime before spring. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you very much for watching.